is I'm gonna let people in. Give me 1 second.
No, you're good. Yeah, I do. I hear you and I see you. Yeah. Do you have a weak signal at your house or what's the deal?
I don't know if this has to do with signal. It's just a weird thing. Okay, so let me let me start letting people in, and then I'll give an
Okay.
intro, and then we'll get started. I'll fool around
All
with some
right.
other
Can
things
you
while you
hear
guys are
Wayne at
chatting.
all?
Nope, I can't hear him. I
So
don't know
you
what's
can't
going on.
hear Wayne, correct?
Yeah, for some reason, and he may have to Well, why don't you try unmuting yourself real quick, Wayne? Now that you have the headphones on.
Mute. There.
Do you
Hello.
hear an echo now,
No?
David?
No.
Okay,
No.
we're good. We're good. We did it. All right, I'm gonna let people in.
You hear him?
I can
Okay,
hear him
Yes.
now.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Welcome, everyone.
Wow.
Oh, now I hear an echo. Little
Yeah,
one.
there's an echo on me.
Now I don't hear it. One thing you can do, Wayne, is at least when you're not talking, you can mute yourself and then unmute yourself when you're talking. That might help out. Welcome,
All
everyone.
right. Is everybody in? Are all our lovely people inside our
We do
sacred
have a lot of
little
lovely
room?
people here. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. So we have Wayne Ferguson back again this week, and we could see him all the way at the beginning of the episode. We're excited about that, and excited to hear what he has to chat about today. We really just scratched the surface last week, so definitely looking forward to scratching even a little bit deeper. And I kind of have a feeling we'll only get it slightly farther, but that's the nature of an interesting fellow. All right, so I will just give a quick introduction. Let me get that loaded up here. So we're here with Piano Tech Radio Hour. Some of you are seeing us live on Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't become acquainted with this event before, know that you can actually join this Zoom meeting directly. If you go to pianotechniciansmasterclass.com, you can find a radio hour sign up, and you can get updates about the event. And you can actually become a member of Piano Tech Radio Hour really inexpensively and get the direct links every week and get updates and so on and so forth. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. This is an online educational resource that offers you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. And as I said, you can find out more at www.pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And on today's episode, we have Wayne Ferguson. He's a great tech up there in Canada, but he's also worked all over the globe in various places. He's become acquainted with all the major factories in Europe and worked with some incredible artists over the years. And we're really honored to have him here. So I'm actually going to kind of hand the conversation over to David a little bit. David, do you have anything else to say about Wayne before he unmutes himself and starts chatting with us?
Yeah, just that we've been close colleagues and kind of soul brothers for about 15 years. We have an incredibly deep mutual admiration society. I think we're both incredibly practical, incredibly intuitive piano technicians. And Wayne has had the great gift of some of the greatest technical mentors in the world. The best technicians at Bosendorfer and Hamburg Steinway and Yamaha and more Blüthner, Bechstein, more Fazioli. He's had just amazing mentorship in his life, and it's reflected because he's the tuner for the Toronto Symphony and based virtually all the major venues in Toronto, and he's seen as kind of the dean of piano technicians in that big, huge city. He's also a wonderful, beautiful-hearted human being who's also a really good teacher. And just imagine the technical questions that this man could answer for you if you come up out of your reticence enough, dear people, to actually ask him stuff about let off and hammers to strings mating and aftertouch and which way he turns the casters in a concert or just anything. I'm going to ask him a question that I've asked myself for years and am in the process of answering. What's the best way to set aftertouch and key travel on any piano, given that all the pianos that I know that are made by, six-figure, for a 7-foot piano, they don't have different key travels and different aftertouches. They're all around 10.1, 10.2, 10.3 millimeters. Fazioli, Boschendorfer, Hamburg Steinway, on and on and on and on. That seems to be the key travel that players like and that the tier one manufacturers go for. How do you achieve that on say you got an hour to make the key travel and the aftertouch on a piano that's being played in a recording in a couple of hours? How do you do it?
We'll have you unmute yourself.
There, you hear me? You hear me?
I do.
Oh, yes, sir. I muted
You do.
myself, but yes, I can
Okay.
hear you great.
There's an echo, though.
I'm going to mute you, David. Let him talk, and that might get rid of that.
Okay.
Okay, how's that?
I can hear you well.
No,
You hear the
no
echo, David? Say something real quick.
Is that good?
I think you're good. Why don't you get started chatting and let's see how it goes, and I'll try to adjust things as necessary.
Oh, okay. So what I do the constant.
You're getting the echo. So what happens if you mute yourself? I'm really unclear. Can people hear you? Let's try. Why don't you mute yourself and let's see if people can hear you. Sorry, folks. We were dealing with this beforehand. I don't know what's happening again with Wayne, but there's some issue where he's getting an echo on his feed. But David could hear him if he's muted. So let's just try this, Wayne. Why don't you mute yourself and talk a little bit and see if other people can hear you too. So let me survey the audience here. Let's ask like Bruce Gibson. You've already made a comment. So can you hear Wayne talking? Wayne, just give us some test talking. Elday says no. David Boyce says no. Okay. Gosh, man, what is going on with this?
So anyway, does everyone hear an echo?
It sounds okay right now. Why don't you talk for a little bit? Let's deal with it. I'd rather hear you talk with an echo, and,
Oh,
and
okay.
sometimes the filters will filter it out after a while. It'll catch on to it.
Yeah. So, okay. So what I do in a concert situation or going in, if it's for a new artist, I'll look at the overall hammer blow distance, where it's at. Sometimes it's too far away. Sometimes it's too close. Uh, I will check to see what kind of aftertouch I have. Is it too deep? Is it too shallow? I do a quick check of the keyframe. So I do sort of maybe a 2-minute sort of analysis. And then I will talk to the artist, ask them how they feel. If they feel it's too heavy, too light, or something's not right, I do have to make some sort of notable change. So usually what I will do is I will look at one thing I usually do is I'll make hammer blow a little bit further away. I'll do a couple of samples and I'll go through that. I will refine looking at let off and drop. I will also, in some cases, I don't like to do this, but I would have already checked the key bed. Sometimes the key bed is going to be swollen and it's way out of whack. I'll check that first, because if I go through and use the method where I'm putting my hand under the action, lifting the keyframe, how much pressure am I getting lifting up? If I'm lifting up the hammer flange rail, and I'm lifting, I'm knocking down on the keyframe. As soon as I hear that knock, I'm thinking, okay, do I have a pound here, 2 pounds? How much weight is there? So what I will do is thinking maybe it's cranked too much, which is causing an effect with the aftertouch. Just an example, if you have very little aftertouch, right? If you actually glide that a keyframe up a little bit, you'll start to get it. So it depends on what's going on with the action. Sometimes the keyframe is changed to the key bed. Maybe it hasn't been looked at for a while. A lot of the pianos I service have been delivered, so I don't know. Sometimes I get called from Yamaha saying that we've had no chance to prep the piano. It came from Montreal. It's been on a truck for 2 days, and it's going into Roy Thompson Hall for a concert. So they're just giving me a heads up. And so it's a matter of, you have to do a quick analyzing. Like I said, keyframe, is it knocking? It could be knocking all over the place. Could be, so what I like to do is sort of check that first, make sure it's within a reasonable adjustment. Then I'll look at my hammer blow is usually the first thing I go for, if I want to make it a bit closer or further away. And then I will look at refining, let off, and then drop. Another thing that I have done in some cases, if the hammers are worn out a little bit, in some cases, there's more wear, I will actually make let off wider. I've actually gone up to making let off 4 millimeters, and then adjust.
Jesus.
Yeah. So there's been some cases where I was working on a C7 that had a lot of wear in the hammers. It was almost gone. And what I did is on that job, I set the let off at 5 millimeters. I did the drop after that. Everything worked.
It's like you got frozen for a minute. David, let's check in with you.
Okay, I'm here.
Wayne froze for you, right? Did he disappear?
Yeah, Wayne is frozen.
Okay. Man, this is too bad. So, any thoughts or comments on what he was talking about?
Well, that's those are great things to check. My question then would be, what if they're new hammers and they're not worn and there's still not enough aftertouch, and that you know, key travel's okay. Key travel's somewhere teeny bit above 10, but the aftertouch is you got to really push to get to it. The first thing I would do, as Wayne said, is to measure the blow distance. If it's 46 or more, you could raise it up a teeny bit and probably get adequate aftertouch and only shorten the blow distance by, less than a millimeter, and still get adequate feel of aftertouch. And you of course know what I'm talking about. When you dial the blow distance closer via the capstan, you introduce more aftertouch into the regulation train of that particular note. So there's two great ways to set aftertouch. Now, if you have an hour, you may or may not want to be dicking around with key travel, because key travel is pretty sacred. But if you're making small, teeny little adjustments, then if you're staying above 10 millimeters, my overwhelming experience is that good players don't like shallow actions unless they're going for some specific historical kind of thing. They like 10, and like a strong 10. So I have tried many times to use gauges to set aftertouch, and no gauge I've ever found, including the Irwin gauge or any gauging system, is better than my fingers for setting aftertouch.
Wayne's
My
back, by
fingers
the
are
way.
actually insanely, brilliantly precise. And I can tell, literally thousands of inch differences. And I just have to trust that I can. That's a lot of what my class is. Trust that your body is this brilliant tool, sensing device.
Yes.
That's, just an amazing thing, and that you can use it to make this piano sing. Hey, Wayne,
Yeah.
you're back.
Yeah. So, I heard all of that. I had to dial in for my iPhone, and I'm hearing you on my iPhone, but I see my computer. My computer was frozen, so I'm back on the iPhone right now. So
Welcome
I don't
back.
know what angle
Oh, wow.
I'm.
Ethan, you can
Yeah.
hear Wayne now.
Well, I've been
Ethan?
here. Once he was unmuted, I could hear him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. But then he had that echo on. So now everything seems way better.
Welcome
Bruce
to the
Gibson says
world of
everything looks great.
Zoom
Okay, can I
fiascos.
just show you
All
something?
right. Thank you, Bruce.
So I have 3 key dip blocks. I have another 2. I can't find them, which is typical for me. These are all a little bit different, right? And sometimes I'll use these when I'm talking to the client. So they check it. I say, okay, well, what do you think about how these feel? I'll put it on the keyboard, and they're
Wow.
they go through, oh yeah, I like this, I like that. And I said, well, I can adjust it this much, I can do it that much, but there's other things that are going to happen, right? So that's what I'll do is I'll give them a sort of an example, right? This is very, but if I put this on a flat surface, you can feel this one is higher, a little bit lower and lower again. And so I just use that as a bit of a demonstration to say, what do you think? Right. And as they say, okay, I like the middle one. Okay, then I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my keyframe or glide bolts. So it's going to be like this all the way across. And then I'll check all of the, maybe it's a little bit deeper in some of their spots, or, I'll kind of try to correct that. But I will use some gauges like these, right? And I do have two more that I was gifted by a technician from Yamaha. So this
use
is
it as a visual cue at first.
Yeah, because
medium, this one's large. Just which one intuitively do you think you'll like, and then you do these adjustments.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm put into a situation if a piano has come from somewhere, hasn't been serviced for a while, which happens quite often. You go, okay, what am I going to do here? It's like, try to get on it, try to take care of any issues, and then think, okay, I got to work in this ballpark unknown area when the artist comes in, right? And then afterwards, then I'll see what I can come up with, right? Because you do need the feedback from the artist.
Do you find that most artists like really want that key travel of 10, 10, 1, 10, 2, 10, 3, like that? That's my experience with good
usually, yes, they usually like a certain type, they usually like a certain ballpark. Usually if I get into, I can't remember some of the Russian artists I've worked for, but there is one of them that really wanted no aftertouch. He just wanted nothing.
Literally no aftertouch?
He wanted nothing. He just wanted no, like just the way he played. He
literally wanted, no bump, no click, no notch.
He wanted like hardly nothing there afterwards. He didn't want that second keyboard feel.
Wow.
And so, okay, well, that was a challenge to do that. But but then I listened.
Did you just roll the blow distance out a little bit longer and eliminate some?
Make it as long as I could. They're almost like sitting on the cushions, like some of them are just as down as far as you could go, right? Which is not normal,
And they escaped. So you're saying that they escaped, but it was like almost a no escape situation, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna add to that. So Ted Sample was my instructor, and he did a lot of work for Glenn Gould. And and Ted told me that Glenn Gould liked next to no aftertouch, next to nothing, right? And I talked to Vern Edquist about this all too. So years ago, there was a play in Toronto. There was a guy named Ted Dykstra, and he took on the role to do the Glenn Gould play. It went on for 2 weeks, and I went and tuned the piano every day. And he dressed like Glenn Gould, and he played like Glenn Gould, and he stayed in character all the time. And when I seen first name's Ted, he was in character, and just one thing he was doing, and I says, okay, Ted, he says, it's Glenn. So I said, okay, I can make some adjustments for you. And what I did was exactly what Ted Sample told me, was make no aftertouch. So I made it next to nothing. Ted, Mr. Gould, said he could finally play those parts because he was having trouble. And he actually was able to do it. So next to no aftertouch. Of course, Glenn sat very low. Um, and he had this way of, I was told that he does this flip and flap as he's playing. He kind of is doing this sort of, he'll flip this and he'll flap that. And it's just the way he articulated and his, the way he was very, very low. And so I don't know if that explains it.
Wow. All right. Does anybody else? Are there any questions in the chat, Ethan? Or did anybody take on my challenge to ask their burning questions?
I have something from, I guess I just had some incredulous thoughts that a artist can give feedback about a dip gauge sitting on a flat table. I thought that was surprising. And I don't know, can you follow up on that? Is there a certain percentage of artists that you use that? Do you always use that technique? Do they respond well to it? Is it almost, some of the things we do are just to kind of facilitate communication with the pianist, and it may not serve as much of a direct function as it seems it does to them, but it just kind of helps us understand things. How do you manage that?
Well, I did a lot of work for Anton Corti, and Anton Corti, some Canadians will know very well about him. He was a real challenge. He carried his own tools. He did all his own work. He was doing work that a lot of the companies didn't want him to do. I had an argument with him because he wanted to put Teflon on everything, and Yamaha's issue was they didn't want Teflon on anything. He wanted to use ProTech everywhere, and sure, ProTech works great, but it can drastically change the touch weights and everything. It can go way, way out of some of the standard frictions you should have. Depend. And he also wanted a 1-inch block put under the base side of the leg because he felt the stage was skewed. So they had to get the crew, and we had to get a 1-inch piece of like a 3/4 piece of wood and put it under the wheel. So most artists are pretty reasonable, but they do. Another one, Alain Lefebvre, he was very precise in what he wanted, right? Very. So whatever they would ask for you, I would try to do. Depends. I'd always try to do. Sometimes I would have those boxes where I would maybe was going to add a little bit of hardener or more voicing, or so.
We missed a little second of what you just said. You said you'd always try to do, I think, everything, and then we missed a little bit after that, what you said.
And more. I try to do everything and then even more, right? I'll really start thinking outside the box. I had one job where there's one note that someone didn't like, and it was I took the hammer off and I switched it to the neighbor, and they were happy.
Wow.
So, and they liked the other note. It was fine. So I remember hitting. I was doing some voicing, and they weren't happy. And I remember getting. I had some. I needed a heavy sort of the piano was really mellow, and I put harder in. But I actually went and got an actual hammer, and I put this on the block, and really hammering those three, like this section. I was going through about 6 notes, really hammering the hammers, really trying to get compacted. It worked. In other words, the end of my voicing tool wasn't enough, trying to bang the end of the hammers, right? I needed more force, and that worked.
So you put that wooden block over the strike point of the hammers and just banged away at it.
Yeah, I put this down. The hammers were sitting on there, right? Yeah. And then I pounded away at that surface. But I did it 3 together. And I was really pounding.
So do you see any correlation between how picky somebody is going to be, and how well they perform or anything like that, or do you just chalk it up to idiosyncrasies between some pianists like to kind of take what's there and make something with it, and some of them are just that's their personality, they're more particular, and they have their idiosyncrasies?
Uh, yes, idiosyncrasies. I mean, some of these artists, they're traveling around the world and they're getting to see some of the best pianos on stages. And in some cases, if they're a Yamaha artist or like Dave Brubeck and um, uh, would come to town, and he it didn't matter what piano, he was always happy. He was just always happy, joyful man. He always liked the pianos, and he never really complained. Um, you know, um, so there's other artists that are definitely more more fussy. So
And what I found is for them, you need to do like what you did with those two hammers. Create some kind of what I call a psychoacoustic illusion. Say, oh, I voiced this section completely, and have them play it. And maybe you didn't. Maybe you just played the notes or something. And the artist will play those notes and go, oh, yeah, that's a lot better.
Herbie Hancock was always a challenge, always to work for. I knew him well, worked for him many times. And Chick Corea, same thing.
Yeah.
He would tell me, he says, like, you be around, because if something goes wrong, I'm going to call you on stage, to do a touch up, So they had on their rider that they want you to do a pound tuning. They specify, and on the rider, it's right on the front of the contract. The tuner must perform a pound tuning. Promoters would call me. He says, what's this pound tuning? If you don't do it, they can cancel the whole show. It's right on the top. I says, well, it's just a style of tuning. I don't tune like that. But I will do it, right? And my tunings are solid.
Oh, where you pound every note triple fortissimo before you leave it?
Yeah. So I have
That's crazy.
I have a pounder here that I use. This is a wooden ball. It's got 8 ounces of lead in it. I cut it in half, and I put 8 ounces. I measured it. And I got this hammer here. You can see the block on the side where it rubs. I've had this for years. And this is just the right length for me. So as I'm tuning, I'm, pounding the notes, like 1, 2, 3, and then sometimes I'll let.
Yeah, but you're not pounding. You're just kind of letting it drop, right?
Letting it drop, yes. But when that drops, that weight is 8 ounces. So I think the BTG test is 8 ounces from 8 inches, I think, or they do a test. But anyway, some people are pounding the crap out of the piano. Like Hiromi, oh my God, she's playing. At some point, she was playing with her elbows. So oh my God, some of the stuff happens. You think, okay, that's not normal. Some of the Cuban players, like a guy named Gonzalo Rubicella. He a massive Gonzalo, massive pounder, just pound the crap, So at some point, something's going to give.
So you referred to the way that you tune in a concert setting, and I'm thinking maybe I don't pound either. I hit every note a forte shot, but I don't pound. I'm confident that my body can feel when the pin is set.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many tune left-handed, but I tune left-handed. I'm right-handed. I used to tune right-handed all the time. But when I was in Japan, there's one of the tuners. He would say to me, tune left hand. I says, no, I'm right-handed. He says, I know. He says, tune left. Learn how to. right?
As a
And-
learning experience, or that
and
you
I
should
did,
do that all the
and-
time?
And it's completely for me, how I tune left-handed is when the piano pitch is low, I come up to when it's in tune. I do not go over, right? So there's this thing with tuning pins, flagpole. Let's face it, when you put the hammer on, the pin is moving, right? A good brother of mine, friend, technician Fred Redikoff, he's also left-handed. And
Yeah.
the pin's going in the right direction, right? And it might ever since I started doing that. Of course, I can't do the bass. I have to sort of right-handed, but that is the pin is already in the right direction. When it's
Yeah.
you're pushing, it's tilting, you're getting it, and you get the right blow. Things will set.
Yeah, but you can feel that. No matter how you get it there, you can feel that it's a subtle but completely thing like, okay, this pin is set now. Now I can basically do what I want. That's not going anyplace. Don't you find
So,
that, Wayne? That
yeah.
feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that feeling. And that feeling also comes along with how much you're sort of you're pushing, like, I don't know, let's say you're pushing 10 pounds, but then you're pulling back 6 pounds or whatever. It's this micro, because everything we do is pulling. So there's this sort of a sensitivity where we're really feathering what we're doing to the pin, right? There's a point where the pin is turning, and there's a point when the pin's not turning, and the effect now is going to be flag pulling, and then what you're hearing after that is a string slipping or setting. So, and each piano is different. You know, some pianos, like they're grabbing at the A graphs or the V bar. You're cranking, and all of a sudden you get it loosens, and it's like you wash the car in the driveway. The hose has gone around the tire, and you flip the hose to try to get it unhooked, and you get a bit more length, right? That's the same thing with the string. You're trying to get that string unhooked from the bridge pin. You're trying to get those equalized.
Yeah.
I got a question in the chat. Do you mind if I throw it in?
Go ahead.
Cy Schuster asks, what special are your biggest priorities for evenness? Key travel, aftertouch, rep spring tension, blow. Which do you find are usually way off?
Well,
great question.
Well, to me, it's like what I look at is the big three, right? You got to have the big three. You got to have let off, drop, and repetition. You have to have all those. And quite often, the let off is always going to be a little bit questionable. Let off is questionable, but the big thing also is repetition, right? So So what I'll do is I'll go through it. Geez, these reps feel really strong, but sometimes there's stuff that's really weak. So